Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Desk, the podcast all about my time in the studio as a student. My name is John Wells, and today I just want to share my time alone in the studio. And what I mean by that is there was a session the other week where the whole day I was just in the studio on my own, running everything. And every session so far, I've had somebody else, whether it's another intern or the bosses. But on this particular day, I was basically left alone. There was nobody to fall back on, essentially. And it was a bit different, and I did feel a little bit nervous. So today, I just want to share my experience with you. And I think the best way to do that is just go through the day, really. So I'm pretty sure it was a Monday, and I'm the only person in. Usually there's another intern with me, but he was on holiday or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And basically, we had a lot of unfinished projects to do. So I was left alone by the boss because he was in the office, but for the most part, I was in the studio on my own. And to be fair, I was a little bit nervous because, got no one to fall back on, like I've already said. And if you cock up, you can't ask somebody else for help. I mean, I could ask the boss, but he was also busy. So it's basically, I've got to work on my own experience to save me, basically. And, you've got to do these things, otherwise you'll never learn. But you've got to do these things, otherwise you'll never learn. So, yeah, Monday morning, and we had just one recording session, and it was a pop music experience recording. Now, pop music experience is basically our company's version of like a recording day experience for people that aren't actual musicians or anything like that. So anybody can come in, usually it's like a party or something like that. They can come in, have a look at the studio, practice singing, actually record a song, and then they'll get like a rough mix and master of their song that they can take home at the end of the day. Now obviously because of lockdown we can't have parties, so it's just been solo sessions. And this woman came in with her kid. He was about 6 or 7 years old, and he was the one singing. And, kid singing on his own, you've got to make him feel comfortable, you've got to be nice to him as well. Because kids, a lot of the time they're a bit nervous. I mean, I'd be nervous at that age. Being in a massive just booth on my own, just like without my parents there. And then I've got to sing as well. I mean, being on my own at that age would be weird anyway. But then also to sing, I just couldn't do it personally. But, the kid was there and he was giving off a lot of confidence. Like, I assume he'd sang before. And he wanted to start off by singing Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a strong start, If a little kid like that age just wants to sing Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, good choice in music, first of all. But yeah, it was very interesting and fun to listen to. So, I did the usual thing of just bringing the microphone down, doing a quick sound check with him. And once all that was all good, once everything was, ready, we would just basically started recording. And this kid, right, he belted out Bohemian Rhapsody in one take. And it was so fun and just refreshing to watch. Because he's not nervous, he doesn't really give a damn about anything, he's just happy to be singing, which was really cool to see, to be fair. And also the fact that he did it in one take. I mean, the amount of people I would love to see just do it in one take. One, because it's easier for me to comp later on. But yeah, it was just a really good session. But we managed to record this song in 15 minutes. So we needed to beef out the time because they got a whole hour. So, better make the most of their time and the money worth it, basically. So I showed him a couple of vocal processing effects. So I did a pitch shift with him to make him sound like a chipmunk, and then a really deep, low voice. And we did a couple of other things as well. I think I showed him delay and reverb, which he kind of liked. He thought it was a bit funny. So yeah. And then after that, we recorded another song, which he wanted to do All of Me by John Legend. I mean, this kid's done it before, you could tell, because he just knew it off the top of the head what he wanted to record. And it was just, yeah, again, he just blasted out the lyrics of the song, and it was really good. I mean, we were done a little bit early, after I was trying to beef it out, but we still ended up finishing recording by 40 minutes in. So So after that, I did give him the chance to just like, come into the control room and see what I'm doing on my end really, just to let him look at all the cool equipment and stuff like that. Because it is cool equipment, seeing the desk and the preamps and the big speakers, it's all really cool to anybody of any age really. And so he came in at the doorway, just saw me do a really quick mix and master, only a bit of EQ, a little bit of compression, a bit of limiting and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the session, so PME works, or the Pop Music Experience works by basically the customer gets one free CD, so we just burn their song to a CD and they get that. So I gave the kid the disc and he was pretty happy with it. And to be fair, this session was really cool, and it also gave me a bit of a confidence boost as well, because I was like, I can do it. I didn't have any issues. Everything went smoothly. I knew what I was doing, and it was just more of a personal confidence boost, because I was like, all right, okay, I can actually do this thing, and I don't need to like fall back on anybody or anything like that. So yeah, once that was done, I had like another maybe seven hours of the day left, but I wasn't done. So the next task that I had is, we had a rapper come in last week, and he had about 3 songs that we recorded together, and we didn't have time the previous week to finish mixing everything, so we had to have that done for him. And I worked on these for a couple of hours. Like, I only wanted rough mixes, which is fine. I mean, they didn't want anything like amazing or like professional standard, but I still wanted to give them a high quality standard, just to give them an idea of what their song would sound like. Because we're not actually mixing and mastering their songs, they have a producer who does that for them. But we just give them the rapper, a rough mix, just so they can listen to it basically. I mean, a lot of the mixing process was just double checking for like clipping or audio cutting out, because this particular rapper had some issues with that in the past. Not with me or the other intern, but I think the interns before that. So we were just like very cautious that that didn't happen for him again. And it was really cool to mix these tracks basically, because each one of them was different, even though they were all rap. Like, you still needed to have different effects and stuff like that. For example, one of them was a freestyle rap, so it needed like really tight and raw sound to it, basically. So that means no reverb, no delay, because you want it like really close up to the mic. You want to have that effect of just like really close to the mic, and you want just like that raw energy basically. And you don't need much mixing on a track like that, I've noticed. And they were pretty happy with that one. And then the next one was like more of a fast-paced rap, and there was a lot more ad-lib, so we had more like a higher line or a higher vocal and a lower vocal. So you need to just like balance all of that really. And he wanted a couple of other effects and stuff like that. I think at the start and at the end of the song, he wanted like it just to sound different to the main verse and stuff. So I think I ended up putting like a little bit of a distortion or a saturator on it, as well as bandpass as well, and that did the job. He liked that. And then the final track was, I think the issue was, it was like the backing track was distorted, so basically I just needed to use a lot of compression and just needed to balance the backing track with his vocals essentially, because he wasn't finished recording that. He did come in a few days after and recorded on top of what we'd already done. But for that mix, yeah, it was more the backing track rather than his vocals that needed doing, because I don't know what was wrong with the backing track, but yeah, it was just very distorted and just like clipping constantly. But overall, I was pretty happy with what I mixed and mastered at the end of the day, and they were pretty happy with everything as well. Although I did forget to like send them the isolated vocals, because obviously, we're not mixing and mastering, they just want the vocal tracks, and I forgot to give them that. But other than that, everything went really fine. And the final task that I needed to do for this day on my own, I just needed to comp something for the boss. And now the boss is working with an artist who wanted to do a cover song of Billie Eilish's Future Me. but he wanted to do it in the style of bossa nova. So they're very different styles, like the original Billie Eilish song and bossa nova. They're quite different. So the boss is doing like the majority of the work, but he needed me and Tom, the other intern, to record guitar. Now we recorded guitar the previous week, and we got like all the takes done, but we just need to comp it together. And for those who don't know what comping is, basically it's just like chopping up different takes or recordings and gluing them together to have like a really good recording overall. And the recordings themselves sounded good because we used like, I think there was a ribbon mic and a condenser mic, and the way we positioned them, like one near 12th fret and then one more to the bottom of the body, just to give it a bit more fullness, really. I think the recordings sounded really good, but the only issue is we'd had picked up the other interns breathing within the recordings. They were very hard to get out. Like, I tried using the deep breath effects plugin, and that didn't really help. I tried increasing the high pass filter to like, I think about 150, but again, that wasn't really helping. I even tried like using an EQ cut, but I couldn't figure out which frequencies his breathing was. And to be fair, it didn't really help either, because you were also cutting out frequencies of the guitar, and then it just sounded a bit hollow, to be fair, when we did that. And then like it took ages to comp as well, because Cubase has this feature, right, which allows you to basically comp multiple tracks at the same time. You've got to put all the tracks into a folder, then I think it's group editing, you've got to turn that button on or something like that. For some reason this day the group editing button wasn't working, so what I had to do is I had to basically comp one track all the way through and then go to the second track and comp it exactly the same, or at least as close as I can. Now this was very time consuming, I'm going to be honest with you, but it was done at the end of the day, and he got the track. I mean, we did re-record the guitar later on, but for the most part, for what I did, it was fine. I mean, I could have also tried to get like the group editing button to work, but the issue with that is I could have spent all day trying to figure it out. So I think it was better to just like do it the slower way rather than take a whole day to try and figure out one issue. And I did have a look about how to like get the group editing button to work later on, just so I can do it for the next time or the next session we need it. And that's the good thing about being in the studio or in the same studio, is the fact that you can actually prep for the next session, which I noticed you can't really do at uni, because one, you've got to book out the studios, and two, you're sharing it with like everybody else on your course. I'm pretty sure I've got at least 40 people on my course, plus there's other courses that use the studios as well. And you can't always get the same, studio, and people will have messed with it because everybody's doing something different. So you can't exactly prep for your next session, equipment-wise. So being able to prep this group editing button was very, very helpful. And that was the whole day, really. I mean, overall, it was a really good day. I think the pop music experience session went really well. The comp I did for my boss was pretty good, even though we had to re-record. And the mixes I did for the rappers as well, I think they were good. They were high standards, but not like exactly what they wanted. But it was just a rough mix at the end of the day, so it didn't need to be amazing, but they were happy with it nonetheless. Also, there was no major disasters, and I proved to myself more than anything that I can handle being in the studio on my own. Like, I can actually do a recording session, I can do mixing and mastering and stuff like that to a good standard as well, which is good, because I'm pretty sure I'm alone the whole week at the end of the month. But anyway, if you've got any questions about my time in the studio or just in general, let me know down below, or you can message me on Facebook at Wellesley Media. The link will be in the description below. So, thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope it gives you a better understanding of what it's actually like being in the studio, because that's what this podcast is all about. And I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.